Welcome to this week edition of the LAMP Leadership Advancement Mentorship Podcast. This is a podcast in which we get to learn from leaders. We get to find out their own journey, their story, how they became aware of their leadership potential, and what they did to grow that potential, because growth is not automatic. Growth has to be intentional. And also what role that mentorship has placed in that leadership development. And also, I just want to let you know that this is such a podcast that we don't give the speakers, we don't give them any script. And it's just so fluid, they just come live. They don't even know the question we'll be asking. And we just want to serve you. It's all about you. And this is your host, Dr. Michael Koku. And I'll be glad to come with you, to come to you today with a great, I caught a big fish today. I always got a big fish coming, but this is a very big fish. We are with us, Dr. Kirsten Brown Persley, and we're so excited, to have her on this podcast. And hi, Dr. Persley, how are you today?
I'm well. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Marvelous. Yeah, let's meet you. Tell people about you. And who is Dr. Kirsten Brown Persley? Let's meet you, please.
Yeah, definitely. So I am the founder and CEO of an advising firm called Persley Advisors. So what we do is a lot of strategic advising for organizations and for leaders, just to help them make sure that they are optimizing their systems and practices to really meet their goals, their organizational goals. And so before that, I was in the nonprofit space. I was an executive director of a nonprofit, really helping youth ensure that they are getting opportunities in the marketing and advertising field. So just helping them to get internships and other exposure points to the industry so that when they were done with high school and college, they were able to really understand the career path within the marketing field that worked best for them. And well before that, I was a principal for many years. I was a founding school principal. So I started a high school as a principal. And we had a really successful first year that the school district I was working for asked me to take on the middle school and develop a second school concept. So have a lot of different experiences in leadership, and I'm really excited to share and talk more about them today.
Wow, that's awesome. I think it seems to me as if you were just born a leader. When I saw your daughter, I can see her. She got a leadership attitude.
Yeah, she really does.
And I just want to ask, when did you become aware of this leadership potential? At what time did that awareness came? Because my mentor, Dr. John Maxwell, wrote a book. And the title of the book is Developing the Leader Within You. And he said, when he wrote that book was a aha moment for many people. Because until then, people were thinking that leaders were born. That, since leaders are born, some people think that they are not leaders, maybe because they don't have a title, they don't have a position. But the book really encouraged people that, wow, so that means everyone can develop the leadership potential. So that book it changed that narrative so that people now became aware that, wow, that means I need to find out what my leadership potential is. So at what point did you become aware? Because you were saying a lot of things that I never even knew that you were a principal before, that you are an executive director of a nonprofit. You just showing up in different capacity. So at what point, at what time in your life, was it as a little kid or when you grow up that you discover this leadership potential that God gave you? When?
That's a great question. So when I was little, I was very much a natural, innate leader. I remember in my neighborhood, I would get the kids around, and we would do different projects that I would lead. So for example, in my basement, my parents just had so many different books and all these bookshelves. And I really loved reading and I loved the library. And so I said, we're going to develop my basement into a library. And so I got all the neighborhood kids, and we created a almost like the Dewey Decimal System, where we were using the alphabet and putting the books in the correct order and adding cards to it, and created a check-in, check-out process for all the books. And this was a long, multiple day endeavor where I was able to inspire other people towards this vision of creating this library. And they volunteered their time, all these little kids who were like 5 and 6 and 7 years old, and executed on this vision that I was leading. And so
how old were you then?
I had to be about 7 years old.
You were 7 years old when you were doing all that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was just
you were doing all this when you were 7 years old.
Yeah.
Other little kids to do library and all that.
Yes. And so we had to get so strategic and execute on our plan and figure out how we're going to make it work. And at one point we realized we needed some more money to make our plan a reality. And so we decided we are going to make books and sell them across the neighborhood. So we found some paper and staplers and some markers and made little books that the neighbors felt so bad for us. They bought our stuff for pennies and nickels. And so we were really thinking we were doing something, and we were making our vision a reality.
Wow, that was awesome. Did somebody inspire you to do that, or how did you come up with that? Was it something innate, or how did you get that inspiration as a 7-year-old to start leading other kids to do such great things?
Yeah, I think one of my things that my parents did, they give us, me and my brothers, a lot of autonomy. So, I think about today's day and age, some of the things they did, I wouldn't do now because it's just not safe. But when I was, 7, 6, 8 years old, we lived in this neighborhood where there was it was very wooded. It was a forest. And me being a leader, got the neighborhood kids and led them on an expedition through the forest, and we got lost. We were gone for hours, and our families didn't know where we were. They, had called the police. They were like, "Where are the kids?" And we were just lost, exploring and having a great time, looking at the animals and the waterfalls and all the things. And so, instead of my parents, when they finally found us, instead of them getting mad at me and for leading the kids on this big adventure, they said, you just got to let us know where you're going next time. And here, we'll buy you a walkie-talkie so you can keep in contact, so you can be safe. And so I was always empowered to lead and to go on adventures. I was never told I needed to sit back and kind of wait and twiddle my thumbs. I was told that I could create my own adventure and lead the way I felt I needed to lead.
Wow, that was a great I think that was a great thoughtfulness about your parents that really have so much trust in you, that they give you that kind of environment, because the law of environment says growth thrives in a conducive environment. And I think there's a lot for parents to learn, especially when they see a child like you, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, leading other kids, and they just like, wow, let's help her to do it right. Like, what if you got a walkie-talkie, and if you lost, call daddy, call mommy.
Right.
Like you said, it's not something you will recommend for a little kid these days.
Right.
The world has changed,
Exactly.
But at the same time, the lesson to learn there is just, helping kids to just affirm that positivity in them. There's something in you that want to explore. And at what point now that you were finding out that 7-year-old, 8-year-old, but at what point did you begin to intentionally grow that potential? At what point?
Yeah. So I think that happened when I entered into my career. I really saw myself as a leader because I wanted to be the best I could be in my field. And as I pursued excellence and got better through practice and experience, I wanted to multiply and maximize my impact by getting into leadership positions. So, I started off in my career as a teacher, and I found success as a teacher. I wanted to maximize my impact. So began my time as a teacher leader and taking on leadership responsibilities within the school. and always finding ways to get better. So I was applying for different fellowships, I'd get my master's degree. I was, anything, professional development, anything I could do to get better, I did. And really rose through the ranks. So after I was a teacher leader, I became a principal. I started a school, just having these opportunities and continuing to get better, like joining principal and leadership fellowships, whatever it would take to help me really get the tools I needed to be successful. But I think in my life, that's something I did even before that point, even in, high school, finding different opportunities for leadership and wanting to step in as a leader, just feeling like that was my calling. That's who I was meant to be in different scenarios.
Wow, that's awesome. And one thing that you keep saying that I keep hearing is finding opportunities for leadership. And that led me to what I want to talk about right now. There's something I'm learning now talking about finding your sweet spot. And I realized that sweet spot can be defined as the place where your passion, skill set, opportunities, and purpose intertwine.
Yeah.
When there's an intersection of those four things, your passion, what you are passionate about, something that you can do all day, losing track of time, that's your passion. And talking about your skill set means what you are gifted to do. And then talk about opportunity, then also your purpose, what you are born to do. So the place where they all intertwine, that's where your sweet spot is. But you were talking about finding opportunities. And I like that word. That was a strategic word. Because even though you got your passion, you got your skill set, you need to create opportunity, find opportunity, the right opportunity that is in alignment with your passion and your skill set. Yeah. And that is what make you to show up to serve. But then when you had purpose to it, so what would be your advice for emerging leaders, in this modern world? What would be your advice for them in being able to find their leadership, people that are struggling from knowing that they don't think they are a leader, they just thought that maybe because they don't have a position, they don't have a title. What would be your takeaway for them?
Yeah, I think it's really important to know, kind of to your point, what your passion is. What do you care deeply about? And I think that should be the first step. And once you have an understanding of your passion, in order to be an effective leader, I think it really centers on, centering on dignity. How do you ensure that those that you're serving, you're really being intentional about supporting them and growing other leaders? The best leaders don't just stay there in their leadership tower. They really help others rise up to leadership as well and get the skills necessary to thrive. And so I recently wrote a book called Delivering Dignity, a guide to cultivating cultural competence, and it comes out on March 4th.
Wow.
And it speaks about that. And so I just really passionate about leaders knowing who they are. You have to know who you are personally, and then being able to truly know those who you're leading so that you can get the best out of those.
So your book is not out yet. It's going to be out March 4th.
March 4th. Yeah. So it's coming up.
Wow. I like that date, March 4th. Can we have the link? We're going to have the link for the book.
Absolutely.
We're going to put the link for that book in this podcast so that people can have access to. You call the book Delivering Dignity? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yes.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, who are your role models? Who are your mentors? How has mentorship make you to? Can you tell us what role has mentorship played in making you to become an effective leader?
That's a great question. I've had so many mentors throughout my life who give me and have given me points of insight and wisdom depending on what I needed to grow, and also that support and encouragement. And I have some mentors that are for a season. Some people are just there for a season and then, you get new mentors. But I have two sustaining mentors, which are my parents, which, they are excellent leaders, and they help me as being sounding boards and guides for my leadership journey. But, I network a lot. I think it's really important to meet new people, and from those meetings, meet people in other people's network. And I often find a lot of great mentors through networking, because they can offer different perspective points and just encouragement through different experiences they may have had. So I think that's really important.
Wow. So how important is mentorship? And I just wanted to really throw some light on it. How important is mentorship to become effective in leadership?
Yeah, it's critical. Without having a mentor, you often don't have an experienced guide to um, bounce ideas off of, get perspective and insight from someone who's already been there and has experienced it.
Mm.
It's really difficult to get sound advice and feedback and support from someone who hasn't lived it. And so
Mm.
finding mentors who have similar lived experiences as a leader can be really, really helpful, so that you don't have to repeat the same mistakes they did. You can learn from them and their wisdom
Mm.
that they've gleaned, which just helps you be way more effective than having to why learn things the hard way when you can just listen to insights from others who have
Wow.
been.
Wow. I like that. Why lie things the hard way when you can just listen to the voice of wisdom? So what is the greatest lesson you have ever learned in your life?
Mm. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just a focus on truly, like, this focus on dignity. What does it mean to really dignify others, where you're treating them not the way you want to be treated, but the way they want to be treated? In order to do that, you have to get to know them. I think relationships are so critical. I don't think anything can happen without genuine relationships, and that can't happen unless you get to know people. And so that's the biggest thing, is just really make sure that in all that one does, they're really being intentional with building really strong relationships built on trust and understanding.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, of all title in the whole world, and is this your first book?
It is.
And you talk about delivering dignity. Why dignity? Why are you so big about that dignity? Why? What?
Yeah. I've had some really excellent leaders and been a part of some really excellent organizations over the years. And, I work with a lot of organizations now as a consultant from, just all over the country, all over the US. And the companies rather, the organizations that really center on dignity, whether they know it or not, they are so much better at retaining talent. They're better at getting the most out of the people who work for them. They just serve others really well, and it makes a difference in terms of them being able to achieve their goals. Conversely, I've been a part of organizations with horrible leadership that were so counter to that of one that really preserves dignity. And it's so hard for people to want to be invested in the vision and to do their best and to bring their best self to an organization that does not dignify them. And so that's why I think it's just so critical for any organization to thrive, any leader to thrive. They have to
Mm.
set on dignity.
Wow. Now, I want to take you up on that, because when we use the words often, we lose the meaning of it. So how will you define dignity?
Yeah. So dignity is defined as really understanding others, who they are, why they do the things they do,
Mm.
really what they believe at their core, and responding to that with a sense of ensuring that they're seen as valuable,
Mm.
and that they have a sense of belonging because they're understood, and so they belong with an organization. They're not just there just as figureheads, but you really genuinely seek their input and you try to understand their perspective and point of view. That is highly like a dignifying practice, and that's just super critical for folks to feel and to be their best self.
Wow, that's awesome. Can you give us some tips on how to deliver dignity? I
Absolutely.
know we're gonna buy the book, but we just want to have some tips. You want to give us
Absolutely.
some teasers, trailers,
Yes, definitely.
some
Happy to
taste
do
of the
that.
water ice coming
Yes,
up.
happy to do that. So one thing that's really important is you have to know yourself first. It's hard to get to know others if you're not clear on who you are, what your values are, what you care about. And so that's just really, really essential. Once you have a deep sense of who you are and you start to continue to cultivate that and understand that, it's really important to ensure that you are reaching out to others, and not just those who may have the same background as you, people who may be different, like being in, because I think as humans, it's easy to talk to people or be around people who we have a lot of similarities to
Yeah.
on the surface. But oftentimes when you talk to others, there's a lot more in common than one realizes. And, and it's in that process of getting to know others that you can better understand the points where you're similar, and you can build relationship through that, and better understand them and the differences as well. And that just helps you be able to better respect them because you know them. And respect is so important to really being able to forge meaningful relationships that help everyone thrive.
Wow, that's awesome. So I want us to list it in points. So delivering dignity. Can you just give us 1, 2, 3 points?
Yes. So you introduce a point, just points around how to
like 3 tips, maybe like three points that we can hold on before the book comes out. Like, okay, if you want to deliver dignity, okay, like 3 things, like 1, 2, 3. I mean, just like summary.
Yes. Know yourself and continue to get to know yourself and understand your values and what you're all about personally. The other point is really making sure that you are getting to know others with great intentionality, going beyond the surface, and not just folks who you assume you have a lot of similarities to, people who you may have a lot of perceived differences as well. And the other thing is just really center on respect. And you can really do that best when you get to know the person, not what you think is most respectful, but really what the other person thinks is most respectful and most dignifying, because you know you've done that work to understand what that means for them.
Wow. So I got 3 points from you. Know yourself, then know others beyond the surface.
Yeah.
And 3, respect.
Yes.
One thing I learned from my mentor, John Maxwell, he said, when we disagree with others, we talk about it. But when we disrespect others, we don't talk.
Yes.
Because disrespect builds a wall between people. But disagreement doesn't build no wall. We can talk about things when we disagree. So what's the greatest advice that you have received? And we'll give it to you.
Yeah. The greatest advice I've received is to invest in yourself. So I do that all the time when it comes to my education or just ways to in my business, just always investing on the next thing that will just help elevate whatever my personal pursuits are. I think you never go wrong when you do that. And it
So
always
we'll give you that advice.
Yeah. My parents, which was just really, really crucial. I've seen them live that out and model it to points of great success. And I just feel really grateful to be able to replicate that.
Wow, that's awesome. So where can people find you? And, if people are just listening to you, they say, wow, this is a young women that is delivering dignity all around the world. Where can they connect with you? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I also, on my website, it is persleyadvisors.com. So those are the best ways for folks to connect.
So persleyadvisors.com?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful. So thank you so much. Do you have any closing comments, as we close?
No, I'm just grateful to be able to speak to your audience.
Wow, that's awesome. So we want to say thank you to you, Dr. Kirsten Brown Persley. It's been a great time of learning. And we learned so much about your new book coming up, Delivering Dignity, and also your story has been so inspiring. And I believe people will find it so valuable. Till I come your way next week with another great leader that is also delivering dignity. Don't forget, everything we talk about, you need to put it into practice, because application is the key to transformation. Thank you.